Howdy folks, Little John, and tasting day, and today we are tasting the Extract head-to-head brews I've done recently. Okay, yeah. So this was dry extract versus liquid extract, brewed back on the 11th of June. So it's time to do a tasting on these. So before we get into that, shout out to Little John's patrons. Cheers and thank you guys for your support. As always, much appreciated. Links down the bottom if you'd like to see what that's all about. Also a big shout out to all the subscribers to the channel. It's the same thing. If you aren't subscribed, jump on. Hit the subscribe button down there, down the bottom there. That way you don't miss out on anything that's going on. And hit the like button while you're sitting there. It's easy, just click it once, simple. Anyway, so as I said, yeah, these fellas, Extract. Talked many times over the years about using extracts in, particularly in kit beers, and also doing extract-based beers. And I've never got around and never actually really compared a liquid malt to a dry malt as the base of a beer. I've done it on as an addition to a kit, but not straight up as brewing a beer. I've done extract beers on the channel, always been from one or the other, but never actually compared the two. So I thought, hang on, Tom actually did do a proper comparison between one and the other and see what effects we get, what the differences are. And obviously this is really going to be a matter of opinion. I think there's a lot of people out there who have varying opinions on their own between preferences between dry and liquid. And again, how many people sat down and done a straight comparison? Who bloody knows? But anyway, just a quick recap on these. I will put a link up to Brew Day. So go for it. Basically, I've done two 10-litre batches, which I did on the stovetop in the kitchen, and obviously one, this, which is, where are we? Okay, this filler on my left, I'm going to change these around, so I've got these back to front. Get them out of the way. This filler, which is now on your left, my right, is made using Brews Pilsen light malt. Specific malts made for brewing, and this is their lightest malt. Interestingly, you can see quite different colour there. And this fella is done using light dry malt. I'm going to assume that it's Bintani brand, I'm not sure. Supplied from both the malts for these brews have been supplied by Kev Bristol at the hopping mechanism. And I would assume that his dry malt would be from Bintani. So exactly where that comes from, actually, who knows. But as you can see, it's quite a difference in colour. Started off, the light dry malt was 1.2 kilos in the 10-litre batch. Original gravity 1040, finished at 1013, and has been hopped with Sequoia. Liquid malt on the other side, as I said, Brews Pilsen Light, 1.5 kilos, so one tub. Started off with the original gravity of 1038, finished at 1011. So both beers dropped exactly the same amount of points. They both dropped 27 points. So they're both yeah, they were both sat at around 70 probably about 72% attenuation. USA5 dry on both, a pack of dry yeast onto both. Actually with 10 grams of dry USA5 at 17 degrees. After 5 days it was raised up to 20 degrees to finish off, and 4 days after that it was dropped down and over a couple of days was cold crashed and bottled a few days after that. 15 days from brew day to bottling. 1 carb drop in each bottle, 4.1% in the bottle. So I didn't push hard. Wanted to leave it so I can actually get the flavours. This fella is hopped with Sabro. Now both have been hopped on the same regime. 10 grams at 15 minutes of the boil, 10 grams at 5 minutes, and then 20 grams at flame out, which sat for 10 minutes, and then they were cooled. So exactly the same underlying. The only rule, as I said, well, obviously the hops are different, because I wanted to try it. The Sabro and the Sequoia, 2 hops I had sitting here which I hadn't tried before, so I wanted to try them as well. But I'm hoping it's not going to take away too much from the underlying flavour and the character of the malt. So let's nose them up. Not a lot of nose there. Okay. Slightly fruitier nose on here with the Sequoia. I said I've not tried Sequoia hops before at all that I'm aware of. I've had a couple of beers now that have had Sabro in them, but still haven't really been able to put a finger on what Sabro does. Both beers are nicely carbonated. They're nice and fairly clear. They've only been in the fridge for 2 days. They've just been sitting here in the garage at ambient, I said, since the 26th of June, so that's pretty close to 6 weeks on the dot. Both got poured a nice head, holding a nice head. So let's get in and see what they taste like. So essentially we've got two smash beers, single malt, single hop, which in itself is really unusual for me. Very rare do I do that sort of thing. Even with a straight up Pilsner or lager, I still don't normally do single malt, single hop. Yeah, just nice and light, relatively clean. Not getting any distinct notes on the hops. They're there and it's nice. It's a rather subtle light flavour. Probably would work really well in a lager, but anyway, we'll let it sit and see how we go. Into the liquid malt. Okay, that's still relatively clean. It seems to be a little bit heavier. Not so much in the body, but in the mouth. The mouth feels just a little heavier. The body's probably just a tad more. Again, not a real lot of, not a massive amount going on with the hop. Okay, let's go. Oh, it's almost minty. It's not quite minty. It's like it tastes like it's about to give it this roll over of mint, and then it doesn't. It's nice and smooth. Actually, both of the hops are quite smooth. Okay, that's just got a real light, real light citrus. With a touch of pine. Just a little edge of floralness, like a florally, light lemony sort of a hint of orange, and then with a little bit of pine that follows through at the end of it. That's quite a nice beer. Not quite enough bitter edge, but like, I mean, they're only nothing in before 15 minutes, and not a big amount gone in. Think of slightly bigger hop additions as they are, or even maybe a 30-minute addition just to boost give a little bit more upfront bitterness. Might not hurt, but that's quite nice, and I think that would work really well as a lager. So this is 05, done at 17 degrees, so it's not in the range where it's going to restrain flavour, but it's still kept nice and clean. I think the hops would work really nice in a lager. How they go as bittering, I don't really know, but with the standard bittering hop up front and that finishing on, certainly workable. Okay, I've just got that bit of coconut in there that they talk about with the Sabro. Quite deep in the flavour. It's like a minty, like a desserty type mint. That slowly works over just this little bit of coconut, and I can see how people say creamy coconut and creamy. It's sort of it's almost like a coconut cream type dessert, but maybe with a little bit of mint. Like maybe even a really creamy ice cream with some coconut and a little hint of mint just to give it some edge. Yeah, it works quite nice. So again, be interesting to see that used, amp it up to really get some, really push that flavour a bit off, because it's not a bad, quite a nice flavour. Like I said, it's one of the hot hops at the moment. It is getting a lot of use. It's quite popular. I can sort of see why. It's, like I said, it's mellow, but I think if you really amped up the amount, it's got an interesting flavour. I think, and obviously can work quite well. I've just bottled, before this I bottled up a batch of the Extract XPA, which is Sabro for bittering and sativa, which is another hop experimental I've not used before. So it'd be interesting to see how it goes there. Actually uses bittering, whether it brings more of that flavour out or not. But look, right now if I had to try and split these bits, which is my favourite, I'd struggle. They're both quite nice, both very drinkable. Which is nice, because I've got I've got a whack of it. But normally I'd find doing this sort of thing, I'd go, okay, well, I prefer this one. This one's, and I can give you a reason why. I really can't do that with this. Trying to just pull into the malt itself. I said, this is lighter. Even though it's finished 2 points higher on the gravity, 10-13, it is lighter in the body. But like I said, that's not much. It's really not enough you can go against. So the biggest thing for me really, difference wise, obviously is the colour. That's a significant difference in colour between essentially what are two light malts. So for me, the big takeaway from this is, if you're going forward and you're looking to build a beer, making a decision on maybe one way or the other, is going to, I think, come possibly more to the style you're trying to make and what sort of colour you need to look at. I don't know if there is a lighter version of the liquid, but I said that's a Pilsen. It's actually called Pilsen Light. So I can't imagine you're going to get any lighter than that. And if that is the case, that's fairly dark for your lightest option. But that's in the breeze. There are other options. I've not been overly impressed. I've used Cooper's liquid malts in the past. I've used, I think I've used a Black Rock. That may have only been an addition. I've not been a fan of what the liquid malt from Brews has bought as an addition to a kit beer, but I've got no problem with that as it is. Other than the fact that it's quite dark for supposedly should be a light malt, and at 2 gravity points below the dry, it's not like you could even just cut it back to keep the colour down. So if you want to knock out a nice lager, pilsner, even a lightish pale ale, then the dry malts, I think your better base option. But yeah, if you're going something a bit heavier, American Pale Ale, Goldens, anything like that, you're starting working into that, getting away from those really light end of the beer and getting into the mid-range. Then maybe the darker finish of the liquid malt might be more what you're looking for. There's a bit more, the flavour is a bit deeper. So yeah. Probably the first time I've actually can't go and split, go one way or another. Both have produced really nice beers. Both hops have produced a nice finish. I'm happily recommend either of those hops to play around with. So that's that. I can't tell you any more than that, really. Other than that, probably this is a simple way of making beer. I've always said it. Extract, it's easy. There's a reason why so many brewers take that step from kit up to extract. It's a stepping stone into going maybe into all grain, but it's also a step that plenty of brewers stop at. There's no mucking around with mashing, and you don't have that time factor that goes in there. It's just simply mix up your water and boil it. It's one pot. It's less mess. It's quicker. So you can produce a handcrafted beer of your own recipe, of your own playing around. In 2 to 3 hours, depending on exactly how you want to run that process, and quite possible it's hardly got under 2 by the time you allow for ramp up temperatures and stuff like that. But it is possible you can sneak it under 2. You can sneak it under 2 hours with the right gear. So yeah. If you're sitting in your brewing kits and you want to go something a bit better, all you need is a 20 litre pot and a stove. You don't need a lot of gear, and it's easy to knock out. You can do it quite easily, and you make nice beer. So that's me done with no conclusions, or no differing conclusions anyway. So once again, Patreons, cheers guys. All the subscribers, thank you. If you're still here, if you haven't hit the like button, hit it now. But that's me. Any comments or questions, stick them down the bottom. And I'm out of here. So until I see you again, brewing beer, drinking beer or talking beer, good brewing.